Hello and welcome to the FI Newscast, where we bring you relevant news in the food and beverage industry. I'm Susan Choi, and I thank you for watching. Today is Friday, June 16th, 2023. We have a great show for you today. Our special guest is Bill Lynch, president of the Specialty Food Association. We'll have a great chat covering the issues and trends surrounding the specialty food space. But first, let's cover some of the top stories from this week so far. We start with general economy news. Lots of data released recently. The FOMC held its May meetings where they announced that they will not be raising interest rates, but they may consider further hikes later this year, continuing the fight against inflation. The Consumer Price Index is also showing some relief in inflation, as numbers for all items as well as all food categories are showing downward trends. In a similar pattern, the Producer Price Index declined for the 11th time in year-over-year rate of change. In retail, total monthly sales estimates for the month of May showed positive growth at a rate of 0.3% from the previous month and 0.7% above last year, while food services and drinking places were up 8% from the same period last year. Over in agriculture, a big development to report. Grains merchant Bunge Limited is merging with farming giant Viterra to create a company worth $34 billion, including debt. This merger will bring themselves to a new level on the global farming stage, competing with the likes of Archer Daniels Midland and Cargill. The deal comes as Bunge recently reported record profits amidst weak global grain supplies due to the war in Ukraine. The pending deal is likely to draw some attention from regulators due to its unprecedented size and scope. We here at the Food Institute will keep our eyes open for further updates. In earnings news, Kroger reported its Q1 fiscal year 2023 earnings results. The supermarket chain continues its streak of beating earnings estimates. Revenues came in at around $42 billion. Identical sales without fuel increased 3.5%, while digital sales grew 15%. Management reaffirmed its full-year outlook of 1% to 2% growth for identical sales. CEO Rodney McMullen commented that it is leading with fresh products and that digital strategy helped the company deliver, quote, solid results. Over in restaurant news, the spotlight is firmly fixed on Cava as it's all eyes on its IPO. The plan for the fast casual chain's trade involves some 14 million shares valued at $22 a share, a bit of an increase since the last pricing. Cava will be the first restaurant company to go public since Sweetgreen's debut in 2021. Experts say that though the company still has a long way to go in terms of profit, its fast growth and strong operating margins make for an attractive investment. And finally, we have the dethroning of a long-standing American beer. Bud Light is no longer the top-selling beer in America. Modelo Especial is now the #1 on the sales list. The Mexican beer accounted for 8.4% of U.S. retail store beer sales in the 4-week period ending June 3rd. Bud Light came in second at 7.3%, and Coors Light and Miller Lite took the third and fourth spots, respectively. Modelo has been on the rise in recent years, capturing markets in California State, Chicago, Dallas, and Baltimore. And those are your top stories. We're going to turn now to our special guest. He is the president of the Specialty Food Association, an organization with more than 4,000 members that supports and encourages the success of the specialty food category. He is responsible for the management and leading of this company, which plays a major role in specialty food, a sector valued at more than $200 billion as of this year. He has more than 20 years of experience in leadership, strategic planning, partnerships, events marketing, media, and more. He is Bill Lynch. Bill, thanks for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Susan. So great to see you again. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, of course. We're great fans of SFA, and we're glad to have you here. Let's start things off. Why don't you tell us a little bit about SFA?
Yeah, sure. So SFA it's really a special membership community of food makers, buyers, distributors, brokers, and business services that all work together to help shape the future of food. And the SFA is a not-for-profit, so everything is reinvested into serving our member community, which really uniquely positions us against almost every other food trade show, accelerator, or media organization that needs to deliver a return to their investors. And our investors are the members. This is their organization. And as we like to say, everything we do is for the members, by the members. And we've been operating this way since 1952. So we have a rich history of serving the community, and we take pride in not only being subject matter experts on food innovation, but also listening to our members and offering programs and services at a reasonable price point to help them build their business year round.
Absolutely. You all have been so important to the industry, and being experts in this sector. I want to ask, what are some significant trends or happenings that you are seeing in the specialty food category? What's really standing out to you this year?
Sure. So our specialty food community has really always been on the forefront of what's next in food, and so many of the products you'll find at the Fancy Food Show next week will likely be tomorrow's bestsellers, whether those be on store shelves or online. And I would say that specialty foods most recently are leading the charge for regenerative products. These are products whose sourcing and our manufacturing process are not just carbon neutral, but actively healing to the environment. I also think we're seeing an evolution in plant-based products. And what I mean by that is, for quite some time, for many years, many of the products that got brought to market were historically really heavily processed. And while technically plant-based, maybe not necessarily what somebody would consider a healthy alternative. So we're seeing today is really a shift to really more products that are made with real plants by real people using natural ingredients, and not only healthier for you, but also absolutely taste delicious. And then a last trend I'll just touch on, which is also a nice shift more towards health conscious consumers, really the alternative to alcoholic beverages. And we're seeing a lot of innovation coming out of that space, and those makers of those products are really trying to satisfy and delight consumers who still want to enjoy their time with friends and family at celebrations, out at restaurants, etc., but don't necessarily want to settle for the old club soda and lime. So a lot of innovation in that space as well.
Absolutely. Innovation in that alternative alcoholic beverage space. We've definitely been covering that. Thanks, Bill, for those insights. I also want to ask, for your, your expertise, how has this current state of the economy, we've been seeing the inflation, I've been reporting on it, the potential recession, how have these things, if at all, how have they impacted the specialty food category? What have you been seeing from where you stand?
Yeah, certainly the last year in particular has impacted consumers on so many different levels, and the specialty food industry was not immune to this. We're really coming out of a time when, unfortunately, the rise in labor costs, the scarcity of labor, cost of goods was passed along to the consumer, despite how hard the community really worked to avoid that. I think over this next year, we're going to see a bit of a bounce back. And from our latest State of the Industry report, while specialty food sales grew to $194 billion in 2022, we're expecting to see that grow even further to $207 billion by the end of 23. So if you're in the food business, specialty is really where you want to be. And this industry has always been resilient to change. And I think, at the end of the day, consumers really have a demand for products that create delightful experiences for themselves and for the ones they love. And whether that be because they want healthier choices or unique flavors that provide that special experience. I think also personal indulgence plus a return to more social engagement and events and entertaining will also be a driver behind that growth for the remainder of the year. So with that said, we're seeing a rise in the demand for chips and pretzels and snacks. And of course, chocolate is always top of the list in our household as well. So I think coming out of a tough time period, but I am hopeful for the next 12 months for sure.
I want to take it a little bit more into innovation. You mentioned that, earlier in our conversation, and innovation. The topic of innovation is spans different sectors in the food industry. It's been on the rise. People are focusing that. Can you talk to us more about how innovation, how that trend works in the specialty food category? What have you been seeing? What more have you been seeing when it comes to this topic within specialty food?
Sure. Yeah. So when it comes to food innovation, that it's really deeply embedded in specialty. In fact, most of the products or the innovative products, I should say, that you see on the store shelves in restaurants and hotels, online retailers, et cetera, probably came from our specialty food member community. And I would say that the beauty of this community compared to other groups or events that may be specifically focused on a particular category is that the SFA is where you have cheesemakers and plant-based product producers coexist and learn from each other. Same for domestic and international. We talked about non-alcoholic product makers, and we also have alcoholic product makers. So it's just this wonderful community where these sort of differing approaches to lifestyle and creating products comes together and drives innovation. So it's through this supportive and inclusive, open-minded community that they learn from each other. And that's been driving that innovation for over 70 years now. And I'm certainly confident that, for the next number of years, the consumers can expect to see no slowdown in terms of food innovation coming out of specialty, because every year brings something new and exciting. And I'm just totally blown away by the innovation in our community. And I'm just grateful to be part of this ride.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we'll have more from Bill Lynch of the Specialty Food Association. Stay with us. All right, we are back, and we have again with us Bill Lynch, president of the Specialty Food Association. Bill, thanks again for joining us. I want to move on to the fun part of this conversation, the Summer Fancy Food Show happening soon, the end of June, the 67th annual show. I'm certainly excited for it. Bill, tell me about what you're feeling. What are you anticipating for this year's show in particular?
Oh, well, thanks, Susan. And we are incredibly excited about this summer's Fancy Food Show. And you may need to give me the hook because I could go on and on about the show and everything we've got planned. But as you noted, the show is sold out in terms of exhibit space. We're up 30% over where we were last year. We've got over 300 new exhibiting companies, both international and domestic. Our show attendance is tracking ahead by double digits for compared to where we were this time last year. We're hearing hotel rooms are selling out quickly, so the team is diligently working to open up more inventory. And another thing that I'll make mention that doesn't really get a lot of mention is that our media coverage is up, tracking 87% ahead of where we were last year. So, we've got a lot of great major national, international outlets covering the show, including the Food Institute, which we're grateful for. So our guests, they can expect to experience something a little bit different maybe than what they experience at some other food industry trade shows, which is rather than sort of like an exhibit farm, I'll call it, where you have aisle after aisle of exhibits and you can kind of feel like you're being pushed through like cattle. We want to create a more engaging and dynamic experience for our attendees where they can really experience different activations and activities throughout the show. And so we've got 36 international pavilions led by our first-time partner country, the Kingdom of Morocco, which we're incredibly thankful for. But we've also got these new destinations. And so really there's select pavilions where you can get You can not only sample products, but you can learn about trends and fresh ideas and network with your peers. These include pavilion pop-ups, and they're all New York City based, themed. So we've got Sips Bay, which is in the beverage pavilion. We've got Lower Cheese Side in the deli pavilion, and the plant packing district in the plant-based pavilion. So we got a lot of exciting things going on. New Now Next is where attendees can discover the newest products from startup companies and incubators. We've added a pitch stage for those makers. It's sort of an open style or open mic style where emerging brands can pitch their products live on the show floor. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that our 2023 Sophie Award category winners were announced. And at the show, we're going to crown the 2023 Product of the Year Award and the New Product of the Year. And those are determined by the buyers that are attending the show. So we're incredibly excited, as you can tell, and I'm happy to have the Food Institute there as well.
Absolutely. And we are excited to be there as well. Yes. As we have been telling our viewers, our subscribers, we at the Food Institute, we are partnering with SFA to provide live stream coverage of the Summer Fancy Food Show this year. We did it last summer. We did it this winter, and we're so excited to once again work with you all at SFA to provide this live stream coverage. Bill, talk to us from your perspective about the importance of providing this type of, digital content for people at home, accessing it, being able to access it on their computers or mobile devices. Talk to us about that from your view.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so as you probably imagine, the fancy food shows are incredibly experiential events. And of course, we want as many of our industry professionals as possible to attend in person. And I hear from so many participants that the fancy food shows are the destination to, gather with your community, run into everybody that in the business, which is true based on my experiences. But we recognize that for a variety of reasons, some people will just not be able to get to the show, and that's unfortunate. But we still want to provide an avenue where they can feel part of the show and part of the action, even though they're not there in person. And Susan, you and your team have done an amazing job at the Food Institute, providing that access to our larger community. And it's just, it provides insights. You always have subject matter experts on there and people that are talking about what they're experiencing in real time. I also love the person on the street interviews where they're up and down the aisles talking to attendees and exhibitors in real time. So it really gives the home audience a good flavor for what happens at the fancy food shows. And hopefully they'll come join us in the future as a result.
Absolutely. Well said. Thank you, Bill. I want to bring up an amazing fact that you had mentioned earlier. Specialty foods category set to exceed $200 billion this year. That's from your findings in the State of the Industry report. Talk to us about that. I mean, what do you think the main growth drivers are for that, for that positive, upwards trend?
Yeah. So I believe the specialty food market now accounts for roughly 22% of all grocery sales. And I believe that's up from around 14% just a decade ago. So, specialty growth has really been pandemic proof and inflation proof. As I mentioned before, sort of the taste and quality of specialty food and beverage products really drives that growth. People want to continue to be delighted by the food that they put into their mouths, and and consuming something that's truly delicious. I think the average consumer is becoming more interested in how their food is made and how the ingredients are sourced, and all these factors really contribute to the sustained interest in specialty food products and beverages. And I would say another driver that probably relates to this growth is innovation, as we touched on earlier. And, we have so many small producers that have a significant share in the fancy food shows. They're providing these exciting new products that are new to the market. And, these companies are really innovative. The retailers know that specialty is where they'll discover what's new, what's exciting, what's next. And and we can't wait to have that play out next week at the Fancy Food Show.
Absolutely. And final question, Bill, for you. I want to maybe put you on the spot a little bit. If there was one product or one product category that you're really excited about seeing at the show, you're excited for people to to see and to try out, what would you pick? Could you give us a little scoop on your personal preference?
Well, I personally am incredibly excited about the non-alcoholic products. I don't drink alcohol, so for me, having something other than, like I said earlier, having to order a club soda and a lime at a bar or restaurant, I want to be with my community and have fun. And for those of us that don't drink alcohol, having those alternatives that are fun, that are tasty, that I'm just so incredibly interested in this, and and from what I've seen through the exhibitor list, we have a number of new companies, a lot of companies that are actually going to be unveiling new products in the non-alcoholic mocktail space, I guess they call it. And so for me, I'm excited about that. And and typically I end up placing orders if I can at the show, and I get stuff showing up at my house, and my wife, not so happy with all these shipments coming in. But I'm incredibly excited about that category in particular.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Really looking forward to sample some of those beverages, non-alcoholic beverages. All right, Bill Lynch, president of the Specialty Food Association, the 67th annual Summer Fancy Food Show, coming to you at New York City at the Javits Center, June 25th to 27th. You can find out more at specialtyfood.com. Bill, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much, Susan. See you next week.
Before we go, we're going to take a look at what's coming up in the food industry in the coming days. On June 22nd, the Conference Board releases its latest data on the leading economic index. And on June 22nd, Darden Restaurants releases earnings for its fourth quarter of fiscal year 2023. And as a reminder, from June 25th to the 27th, as I said before, FI will team up with the Specialty Food Association to provide live stream coverage of the 67th annual Summer Fancy Food Show. From key interviews with significant figures in the food industry to on-the-ground reporting at the show with hundreds of new and innovative products on display, this production is one you will not want to miss. We also have some sponsorship opportunities still available. Stay tuned to foodinstitute.com and our social media platforms for more information. And that is our show. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Susan Choi, and I want you to tune in next week, same time, same place, because we will have a great guest, Christina Dorr, CEO and co-founder of Willis Oat Milk. I also want to remind you to show us some love on social media. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channels. The support really makes a difference for us. Thanks again for watching. Have a great weekend and take care.